Well, hello again. We're finally back to the radio. I'm back from Dayton at the Hamvention. I could not do any radio videos because my camera was full of videos that I took up at the Hamvention. And I didn't want to lose any, I didn't want to take any chances, you know, until the video got uploaded to YouTube safely. Then I could delete them out of my camera and make room for our radio videos, which is where we're at now. Plenty of room on the old hard drive right now. I got a 2-hour hard drive in this bloggy touch. Anyway, what I've done is I've changed a few wires out, and the wires that went to the tuning meter, I changed those out. Well, I didn't change them all. They go up into the coils and everything. I just spliced on new red wires and ran them up through the top. And I ran new wires here and here and one other place down here, I think it is here, and a couple other places. Anyway, what we've done here is we're getting the top ready for the tuner. Now this, of course, is our tuner right here. The old tuner, she's going to sit up here. Nope, got it backwards. The old tuner going to sit up here like that. Okay, going to sit up here on top of the chassis, and we need to hook up these wires. And I put brand new wires. These are the two wires that'll go to the tuning meter. These are your ground wires and the wires that connect to the various places on the tuner. Let me go ahead and show you that here. Now there's different points on this tuner where the wires come up through the chassis. They hook right here. There's one that hooks right there. You can still see the wires I left on them. And one here, okay? And then down here we have 3 more. 1, 2, and 3. There's none that hooks up to the top. Nothing gets soldered to the top. These contacts here are all nice and clean, original from the factory. Nothing gets soldered there. Now, in order to set this this tuner on the chassis, I'll need to have a thick insulator. And let me see, what did I do with the other one? I just had it there a second ago. Anyway, there it is. I'm going to get rid of my lock washer here. The original insulator, what did I do with the original insulator? Geez, I just had it here. Let me find, oh, here it is. Here we go. Okay. Here's the original insulator that went over the top of this leg like so, okay? Then it went down through the chassis, and this one here came up from underneath and went like that and sandwiched the chassis. Let me go this way, I guess. Sandwiched the chassis between the top one and this one. And then, of course, your washer went on, and your lock washer, and then your nut, okay? And that's what you had when you got done. But here's the problem we're experiencing right now with that. This has got to be changed out. The reason being is, check this out. Hard as a rock. At first I thought it was made out of wood. And then here's the other one from the bottom, the one that goes up from the bottom. Again, hard as a rock. Okay. Well, when I went to the Hamvention up there, I was specifically looking for something to take the place. I'd need 3 of them, because there's 3 legs that hold this thing to the chassis. So I came up with this originally. You know, I said that should do the job, you know. And it fits down in there like that, but it just doesn't quite fit down there the way I want it. It's kind of hard to get it. It won't go all the way to the bottom. It's just a little too big, and I'd have to grind it all down, which I have done to one of them to see if I could get it to work. Well, yeah, it goes in, but still not the way I want it. You know, it's just not. It takes a lot of work to get this thing to even fit that far. So we went to Plan B. Plan B was this one I bought in case these turned out to be a bummer. I went with this one right here. Now I can lop off the end of that thing. These are rubber legs or rubber feet. I showed you them in the last video, in the mishmash video, where I purchased them. Now that hole down there and this thing here, you know, that thing fits right down in there just right. I kind of like that. That worked out better than I had thought. Now these washers here, or these rubber, I guess they're rubber feet. I don't know what they are. I found them up there. I thought they were pretty neat. You can grind these down to where they're about the same thickness as the original washer, and it would go on from the bottom. And this is what I did. I ground them down. I sanded them on a disc sander, and they will go on, okay? They'll fit right on up there, just like they're supposed to. So this is a just like they're supposed to. This is a piece of cake. We got this baby working good. And I have a couple more that I can grind down also on the sander and make those work. So our main problem was this right here, okay? However, oh, must be wifey. That was the daughter. So let's start over. Where were we? I think this here is what I'm going to use instead. I'll have to lop off the bottom part of this thing and just let the the center part go down through that hole there. And then I'll have to drill a hole a little larger in there so it'll fit across the it's too small to fit these shafts right here. So what I've decided to do now, it's possible this thing has carbon in it, and I don't know, this tuner appears, it seems to me it has to be isolated. We're going to check the schematic here shortly, but it has to be isolated. That's why they use these great big old insulators here. They didn't do that for no reason. So what we're going to do is put this down here like that, and if there's any carbon in here, there's a possibility it could ground out the chassis to the tuner, or the tuner to the chassis. We don't want that to happen. I remember quite a while ago, I learned that from Rick McWhorter, All American 5 Radio. He had a fella that built a transmitter that he had built, patterned after his, and it didn't work. And come find out, the tuner needed to be isolated, but the guy used insulators that had carbon in them, and in fact they were not, of course the chassis was not painted, but you know, they changed the insulators and put white kind of insulator in there. It solved the whole problem. So I want to make sure that doesn't happen here. And then the way we're going to solve that is we're going to go ahead and put these really neat fiber washers I bought up in at the Hamvention on top. Then we'll go ahead and set this whole thing down on, and the insulator, or the fiber washer, the insulator and with the fiber washer will actually be pressing against the bottom of this ring part right here. Okay, pretty cool, huh? So it's going to be really insulated well from the chassis. Anyway, that's what's going on. And then of course we have to solder up all our wires. I'll have to cut these down. We're going to be soldering those wires, by the way. I think I was starting to go through this and I didn't finish it. We got 3 here, and then down here I'm going to have to clean up these here and suck out some of that solder, and 3 here. That's basically it. We're going to take care of that. So let's take a look at how the tuner appears on the schematic. Now on our tuner we've got 3 gangs of plates, okay? 1, 2, 3, and some of the plates do not move, some do, okay? But these are the movable plates. Now how is that shown on the schematic? Well, I'll show you. That's what the dotted line is for, okay? You see this dotted line here going through that capacitor, and you see this dotted line here going through that capacitor, and if you follow it on down, 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 it goes through a second capacitor. Those dotted lines go through the gangs that move on the tuner. Pretty cool, huh? So one is here, which is your antenna, one is here, which is your RF, and one is here, which is your oscillator. Okay, nothing to it. 1, 2, 3. Now the question is, well, if this goes through here, what is this one right here? It's got an arrow through it. And we come over here, well, we know which one this is. This is the movable ones, but what is this? And then we come down here, and again we've got the movable one, the arrows, the dots go through, but what is that? 1, 2, 3. One, 2, 3. The trimmer caps. Cool, huh? Let's turn it around the other way. You see them a little bit better, okay? There's your mica down between the top and bottom plates. Let me zoom in here, maybe you see it a little bit better. Get a little clarity, there we go. And mica again here between the top and the bottom plates. And the mica here between the top and the bottom plates. Underneath that mica is a plate, just like this. And you screw the screws in and out, and it makes the little plates go open and close, open and close. Okay? The spring-loaded, the way it's spring-loaded is this bent area back here. It's kind of a, if you loosen the screw, this thing here, this round thing here has a tendency to bring it up, okay? And bring it back down. It's almost like a spring-loaded thing back there. Anyway, that's what we've got. Now, of course, we have to connect the tuner, let me back up here, to the wires on top of the chassis. Well, let's take a look at how we do that. Now, I said that the way this thing breaks down is the antenna, the RF, and the oscillator. But the way they actually have it, yeah, well, actually, let's go back to the schematic here. The way they actually have it, they call this the first RF, they call this the first detector, and they call, of course, this is the oscillator. So the names are different, but it's exactly the same. So positioning the tuner relative to the chassis with the, the knobs out the front, which is what we have right here, the knobs out the front. We have counting from the front of the tuner to the rear. We have the first RF, the detector, and the oscillator. First RF, detector, and oscillator. Okay? That's what those are. Alright, let's see how we're going to hook it up now. We have black wires here. We have a black wire here, a black wire here, and a black wire here. Now, according to the schematic, this thing has to be grounded in 3 different places. Right here, this is your, again, this is your one side. Remember, this is one, it goes right through the moving plates. One side of the plates has to get grounded to the chassis here. One side of the plates has to get grounded to the chassis there. We go down to the oscillator. One side of the plates of the capacitor, that is, I'm talking about, goes to ground here. So where are those grounds located on this tuner? Well, right here. See, this is metal. So this is ground. This is ground. I'll remove these wires, of course. This is ground. And this is ground. So those 3 wires are the grounding points for these 3 black wires. This one, and this one. A lot of times folks get confused about this, but if you just break it down into tiny little things, like the dotted line going through the movable plates, and then of course your little trimmer cap here which sits on top, okay? And it's the same for the other 2. Nothing to it. So let's find out where the white wires go. Alright, the last 3 wires on the top are the white one, the white one, and the white one. Okay, now they're obviously not the grounds. We've already established that the grounds go here, and here, and here. So that just leaves us, we're kind of lucky with this tuner because we only have 3 tabs left. With this one, and this one. Well, you got 3 wires on top of the chassis coming through to connect to the tuner, and you've got 3 tabs down here. I mean, 1 and 1 equals 2, right? Exactly right. We're going to connect all 3 white wires here, here, and here in that order. First, second, third, first, second, third. And here's what that looks like on the schematic. Don't rely too much. Don't get hung up too much on photographs and drawings. You're really not helping yourself. Now, if you're just starting out, that's different. But after you've done a couple of radios, you got a couple of radios under your belt, it's time to branch out. It's time to say, hey, look, I think I'll rely on the schematic for this and see if I can't figure it out. And if you don't figure it out right away, so what? So what if it takes you a month or 2 months, or so what if you have to contact somebody and say, I thought I could do it, but I can't. Can you tell me what this is? It doesn't matter. No big deal. You understand? This is not life or death. Right here, all 3. Now we know that this plate here goes to ground, okay? And so the other plate comes around, goes to the control grid of the 35. Over here, we know that this plate goes to ground. This plate also comes up, comes down through the coil, comes around, comes over here to the control grid, okay? Now let's go down to the oscillator. we have the movable plate is right here. We know that this one goes to ground. This one here comes around, comes around, comes around through this coil and up, and it too goes to the control grid. All three of these wires are coming from the control grids of those tubes, the 235s and the 27 right there, okay? So all we have to do is, we know we did it right underneath. We hooked them properly underneath. We know they're correct. Yeah, you can go back and check it if you want, but I have total faith in my work, right? Wrong. We double and triple check, remember? So that's what I'm going to do. And we're going to make this a really short video. I'm trying to get back in the swing of things here. A lot of people, I'm trying to catch up. I'm so far behind. That trip up to Dayton, it was a great trip, had a lot of fun. It's over with though, time to get back into the swing of things, but it's when you're that far behind, trying to catch up is kind of tough. So give me some more time, guys, a little more slack. What we're going to do, the next time you see this chassis, I will have the tuner on it with the insulators underneath with those fiber washers, and we'll have the nuts and bolts under the bottom. We'll have it all set up with these wires attached to where I showed you they were, and then we'll pick it up from there. And by the way, we got a lot of very good comments on that mishmash video I put up about the hamvention, especially about Frank, you know, the Pearl Harbor survivor, and that's as it should be. You know, the stuff we did at hamvention came about, you know, what, 100th in line behind old Frank there, okay? I'm glad you all picked up on that. I'm glad you all made comments about Frank and the Pearl Harbor situation. The whole thing was good, and that's great. You all just, I knew that was going to happen. I knew you guys were going to zero in on that, and that's exactly why I included it in the video. Cool stuff. It's there now for all eternity, hopefully. Anyway, until next time, this is John.